Again, I would say this is one of the most relevant topics because it is going to deal with threshold limit, the mandatory registration part, composition levy, reverse charge mechanism, and the registration provisions. Very important and basic topic, because unless we know the threshold limit, we will not be able to identify whether we are liable for GST or not, whether we are liable to get ourselves registered or not. Why do we need registration? That is the first and foremost question which we should answer. So before on business vertical, how it is going to be registered, if I am not a permanent person, how I will be registered, whether I am going to, or whether I'm like eligible to take multiple registration within a state, whether I am bound to take multiple registrations in multiple states. So many questions are being raised so far as registration is concerned. We will be dealing with most of them in today's part. Now let me begin. First is threshold limit. Let me show you the presentation plan of the day. We will be going in this manner. First we will be discussing the composition levy. Then we will go to the provisions of registration, which is covered under section 23 to 27. Next will be schedule 5, which is the most important schedule, and this is the schedule under which we are liable to get ourselves registered. Then in schedule 5 we will get the answer pertaining to threshold limit and the mandatory registration, and then thereafter we will discuss concept of reverse charge. So now I believe every one of us are aware about the composition levy. Each one of us are aware about the composition levy, whether we are doing indirect tax practice or not. And that composition levy is basically prevalent in the current times in VAT, value added tax. In all the states there is a provision of composition levy, and in most of the situations at least one thing is common, that is वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अंदर तो कंपोजिशन लेवी है ही, सभी स्टेट्स में आप देख सकते हैं कि वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में कंपोजिशन लेवी है। इसके अलावा भी आपकी टर्नओवर लिमिट्स पे आपको कंपोजिशन के बेनिफिट्स दिए जाते हैं कि अगर आपका टर्नओवर एक लिमिट से नीचे हो, देन यू कैन गो फॉर कंपोजिशन स्कीम, अदरवाइज यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू get the benefit of composition levy. There is a provision under section 9 of revised model GST law pertaining to the composition levy, and as we after composition scheme is registration provisions. As I said earlier, for complying with any law, first step towards the compliance is registration. You need to have yourself registered as per the provisions of that statute for availing the benefits and for complying and fulfilling your duties laid down by the government under a particular act. आप सेंट्रल सेल्स टैक्स मान लें, आप सर्विस टैक्स मान लें, सेंट्रल एक्साइज बोलें, वैट बोलें, in any law the first step of compliance is to get yourself registered. And there are situations, there are conditions, and there are requirements for getting a person registered as an assessee under a particular statute, and those conditions may be pertaining to threshold limits. There may be certain situations of mandatory registration. There may be certain situations wherein you are eligible to take voluntary registrations. There may be situation wherein compulsorily you are asked to take registration. So what are the provisions under the GST law we are going to discuss in detail today. Let me move ahead, and this is what I feel is all about registration under GST. There can be two kind of assessees. One is existing assessee and the other one is